Hello everyone, my name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy Things. In this video, we are going to see the program of Fibonacci numbers. Well, you might be thinking that why I have selected this program of Fibonacci numbers as my first video in this channel. Well, there are two reasons behind this. First being that this channel is open for all levels of programmers, including beginner level programmers as well as advanced level programmers. Secondly, Fibonacci numbers is an example of an advanced programming concept known as dynamic programming. But before getting into the details of dynamic programming, let's first understand the problem description of Fibonacci numbers itself. As we can see that Fibonacci numbers is a sequence of numbers that starts with 0 and 1. The next number in the sequence is determined by adding the second last number and the last number, that is 0 and 1 adds up to 1. Similarly, the next number will be the addition of 1 and 1, that is 2, and so on. Based on this informal definition of Fibonacci numbers, we can define a mathematical definition of Fibonacci numbers as follows. Let f be the f of n be the nth Fibonacci number in the series, that is equal to n minus first Fibonacci number plus n minus second Fibonacci number, where the start two numbers is f of 0 is 0 and f of 1 is 1. Based on these three lines of mathematical definition, we can easily convert this mathematical definition to a Python recursion program. So let's write a function Fibo that takes a parameter n. Here n is a positive integer all and including 0, that is it is a non-negative integer. I'm assuming that the input given to this function will be valid so that we don't have to write any input validation code, and I don't want to complicate this video or this code. So by this assumption we can proceed. First we will check for the base cases. Remember that in any recursion code, first you need to check for the base cases so that you don't end up into recursion error. So we will check first if n falls in the list of 0 and 1, that is if the input equals 0 or 1. If that is the case, we will return n itself. You can see that for 0 and 1 case, the output of this function will match the input, that is f of 0 is 0 and f of 1 is 1. Hence we can write this. If this is not the case, that is for the recursion case, that non-trivial case, we can write return Fibo n minus 1 plus Fibo n minus 2. You can see that we have not changed much of this mathematical definition, and we have used this recursion to convert this statement into a recursion code. Let's see the working of this code with the help of a code snippet that I have written. So this is our code, and this arrow here indicates the current line that our program is executing, and this section indicates some comments that includes the value of the variables that it is. So initially we are passing say for example n equal to 3 to this function. It will check if value of n, that is 3, falls in the trivial case, that is 0 and 1. In this case, this condition becomes false, and so it skips this line and it calls its first recursion call, that is Fibo n minus 1. Here Fibo n minus 1 is Fibo 2. So Fibo n equal to 2, it will check again if it falls in the trivial case, that is 0 and 1, it is not, hence this condition becomes false again, and it will call its own first Fibonacci 1 n minus 1, that is Fibo 1. For n equal to 1, it is one of the base cases, hence the value n equal to 1 is present in the list 0 and 1, hence this condition becomes true, and hence this function will return 1 to its calling. And remember, this function was called by Fibo 2, hence this value of 1 will be returned to Fibo 2 in the place of here. So this Fibo n minus 1 has now been calculated as 1, and it will proceed to call its second recursion call, that is Fibo n minus 2, which equals Fibo 0. For Fibo 0, it is similar to n equal to 1 as it matches the trivial case, hence it returns 0 to its calling, that is Fibo 2. For Fibo 2, these both values have been calculated as 1 and 0. We will add this and return this Fibo 2's value to its calling, that is Fibo 3. For Fibo 3, this value has now been calculated recently as 1, and now this function will call its second recursion call, that is Fibo n minus 2, that is Fibo 1. N equal to 1 is similar to the previous case that we have seen. This condition becomes true and it will return 1. So for n equal to 3, these both values have been calculated as 1 and 1. It will add and it will return 2. So this is our final output that our Fibonacci function will give. So this is only 3 lines of code. So it might seem simple here, but there is a catch over here. We will illustrate this problem by visualizing the recursion tree that it generates. Say for example, we are calling Fibo 4th Fibonacci number. For Fibonacci 4, it will call two recursions, that is Fibo 3 and Fibo 2. Till now this case is looking good. The problem arises when this Fibo 3 calls its own recursion call. As Fibo 3 is not one of the trivial cases, it will call Fibo 2 and Fibo 1. Before drawing anything, as you can see that for calculating Fibo 4, we need to calculate Fibo 2 twice. And if you get any recursion problem, I would advise you to draw its recursion tree like this on a piece of paper, so that you can see whether this recursion tree contains any duplicates or overlapping of subproblems, to be precise. And if you find some overlapping subproblems like this, then this recursion problem is suitable to be converted into dynamic programming problem. So what is dynamic programming? Although it is an advanced programming concept and it reduces the time complexity a lot, but its actual meaning is very simple. Dynamic programming states that we need to store the result that has been calculated once into a data structure, so that if we need this result second time or another time again, we don't need to calculate the whole result again, and we just need to retrieve the result from the data structure that we have stored. By this step, we are removing the time required to calculate these results again and again. We will see this how this is implemented. Uh, but first, there are two methods of actually implementing the dynamic programming. First is bottom-up approach, and second is top-down approach. When we are using top-down approach, we are starting with the bigger problem, and we are subdividing this problem into smaller problems until we get to leaf nodes, and then we will accumulate these results to again reach the biggest problem, or the main problem that we are trying to solve. In bottom-up approach, we will start with the leaves, we will accumulate the results and go to the top. So the top-down approach here is known as memoization, and the bottom-up approach is known as the tabulation method. In this video, we are going to discuss the memoization method. Memoization also involves recursion, hence we can convert this 3 lines of code very easily into a memoization code. For that, we need to define one function with the same name, fibon. Inside it, it will call a helper function. We will name it as fibomemo. It will pass the same parameter n, and it will pass an empty dictionary to it, and we will return the value that has been returned by this helper function. We will rename this old function of ours as fibomemo, and we will pass one dp data structure. So this dictionary initially is empty because we have not generated any result, but as the calculation will proceed, this dp data structure will have input to output values present in it. We will see the working once we have finished this code. So to avoid multiple or repeated calculations, we will first check if the result of n has already been stored in dp or not. So we will check if n is in dp, then we will return dp of n. So this is the power of dynamic programming, that it will first check if the results have already been calculated, and if it has, then it will return straight away the results that has already been calculated previously without bothering to calculate these steps. So what if this condition becomes false? In this case, uh, it will proceed to calculate like normal. So it will check for the base cases, and instead of returning, it will store this result in the dp of n. That is, for input n, the answer is n. Similarly, for this step, it can be converted as dp of n is equal to this. And the only change that we need to do here, that is, we are not returning anything in the if condition, hence we need to apply an else condition over here. Also, we need to convert this fibo to the fibomemo version. Same goes with here, and we need to pass the same dp data structure. So you can consider that this dp data structure that has been passed, it will, the same copy of dp will be passed to each call of the fibomemo, so that each call to this fibomemo function will have the same copy, so that it can store the results and can retrieve the results. And once the results have been stored in the dp data structure, we need to return it. So it doesn't matter if this result was calculated by a trivial case or a non-trivial case, it will be returned by it. We will see this working again by the code snippet that I have written. So this is our code. Say we are passing again n equal to 3 over here, n equal to 3, and the dp contains results of nothing, like we have not calculated anything yet. Hence this condition becomes false because the result of 3 is not already been stored in the DP data structure, hence it will skip the next line, and it will check if the value of n, that is 3, falls in any of the trivial cases of 0 and 1. In this case, this condition becomes false and it will enter the else section. For DP, for calculating the DP of n, it will call the first recursion function, that is fibo memo n-1 DP. In this case, n-1 is 2. For n equal to 2, this DP does not contain any results yet. Hence, this condition becomes false. 2 is not in the any of the trivial cases, hence this condition becomes false again. It will again enter the else condition and it will call its first recursion call again, that is fibo n-1. Here, fibo n-1 is fibo 1. For n equal to 1, the results of 1 is not already been stored in the DP data structure, but 1 is present in the trivial case. Hence, this DP of n, that is DP of 1, will now contain the result 1. As you can see, the DP data structure here contains 1 to 1, that is for input 1, the output is 1. And it will return 1 to its callee. That is, for n equal to 2, this value has just been returned as 1. Similarly, it will call again fibo memo n-2, that is fibo 0. Now as you can see that as we are passing the same data structure of DP, the n equal to 0 now has the result of 1 available to it, but it does not contain the results of 0 yet. Hence, this condition becomes false, but like the 1 case, this is included in the trivial case, and hence the result of 0 will be stored in the DP data structure as input 0 will give output 0 and it will return back to its callee. So for now n equal to 2, these both values have been calculated as 1 and 0. It will add these both numbers to get 1 and it will store this result to DP data structure as well. As you can see here, for n equal to 2 input, the output will be 1 and it will return this calculated result back to its callee. So for n equal to 3, this value has been calculated now as 1. It will call its second recursion call, that is fibo 1. Now we can see the dynamic programming being used here. That is, if n in DP, now the result of 1 has already been calculated. Hence, this condition becomes true here, and instead of calculating this whole step again, it will just return the value that has been stored in the DP data structure. That is, it will return 1 to its callee. So for n equal to 3, this value has been calculated and this value has been calculated as 1 and 1. This both values will be added to 2 and it will be stored in the DP data structure again. As you can see that for input 3, the output will be 2, and now this will be returned to its callee. Now this fibo memo n equal to 3 was called by this main function fibo n. Hence this value will be returned here and this value will be returned to the main function that was calling this function. Hence the final value that will be returned to the program will be returned as true. So by adding some lines and modifying slightly these lines, we have converted a recursion code to a dynamic programming memoization version of the code. As this video is getting longer, we will discuss the tabulation method in the next video. If you end up liking this video, please give this video a like, comment any feedbacks that you have for this video, I would also like you to add future topics for videos in this channel, like some algorithms, some description of data structures, some coding projects like applications, games, or anything else. Share this video with your friends, your juniors who are preparing for interviews, who who are just interested in programming or are interested in competitive programming. Please do share this video to your friends as well, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.